Vic Jag in the morning with Huggy Lowdown right here on Magic 102.3 and 92.7 here at the historic Ben's Chili Bowl. And, you know, we are super excited to be here today, especially to have the matriarch of DC and Ben's Chili Bowl, Miss Virginia Ali. And, you know, there's a new book out or coming out, and Breaking Barriers with Chili. So we had to have the author here, Bernard Demczuk. So we're going to talk about the book, but first let's talk about the history of Ben's. If you come to Ben's on U Street, you'll see these iconic photos of celebrities and people who, you know, we have the mayor here, we have Eddie Levert. I mean, you have just had everyone stop through here.
All walks of life.
Yes. And so, you know, when you guys started serving the people of DC, it was more than food. You know, you gave them a place to feel safe and to feel welcome. Was that the idea starting out, and how it progressed? Did you see that happening where this would just become a staple of the city?
No, of course not. We thought we were opening up a little business to make a living and raise a little family. That's what we anticipated. And of course, coming into the U Street corridor, we wanted to be a part of that community.
Yes.
Because I'm 90 years old.
Oh, you look 77.
So when I came to Washington from Virginia in 1952, this was a very segregated city.
Yeah.
And my first job was at Industrial Bank right down the street.
Wow.
Been there 90 years, that bank.
Yes.
So when I met my husband and fell in love with him and wanted to be married, his first question was, would I be willing to partner with him in a little restaurant? I discovered when I worked at Industrial Bank how much I enjoyed interacting with different people all day long. So I thought, open up in a restaurant, more people for me to enjoy.
Yes.
So we're now going to open this restaurant, and if we could find anything in a location on what we call Black Broadway, that would be amazing. Well, God blessed us. We were able to find the spot at 1213 U Street. It was an old silent movie theater of the building called the Minnehaha. We were able to lease that property and open the store on August 22nd, 1958. We found the architect, the contractor, the plumber, the electrician, the cabinet maker, all black-owned businesses within 2 or 3 blocks of the Chili Bowl.
Wow.
So it was a wonderful experience. But more importantly, we knew we wanted to be a part of a community.
Right.
And because I like people so much, and because I'm energized by people, I made friends easily. And we became a part of this community. We became a gathering place. Yes. It was a meeting place for people. I had the pleasure of meeting Dr. King and all that and sitting with him during the Civil Rights Movement. He told me some wonderful stories, but the one I most enjoyed was the one he told me about meeting with President Kennedy. And when he met with President Kennedy, he and I think a few of his comrades, A. Philip Randolph, young John Lewis, Bayard Ruskin, a few people that way. He said he told President Kennedy that he was going to bring a lot of people here to protest the injustices of black people. And he said, President said to him, we want to help you with that, but it's not a good idea to bring a large number of people here, because if there's an incident, Dr. King, it will set your movement back. Dr. King said, there won't be an incident. And as we all know, he brought 250,000 people here on August the 28th, 1963, without a single incident. Just a day of inspiration and pride. And we know change is going to come. Well, we passed the Civil Rights Bill in 1964, the very next year. We passed the Voting Rights Bill in 65. We're still working on that, but we did pass that. So it was a glorious time during that period, just a glorious time, and we passed that civil rights bill and everything was going pretty well. And then 5 years later, what happened? He was assassinated. Someone rushes into the door of the Chili Bowl and says, Dr. King's been shot. No way. No way.
Believe it.
Not our nonviolent, wonderful leader. No. Then someone else comes, and then finally someone picks up a transistor radio. And yes, it's happened. Yes, he's gone. The tears were coming freely. People were sobbing openly. But then I think frustration set in, and then anger, and we tore up this beautiful neighborhood. We literally destroyed the neighborhood. We were the only place, this little Chili Bowl was the only place that was allowed to remain open during the curfew period. That was scary, but we were able to do that. And I remember being here even during the daytime. I walked outside one day and the smell of tear gas in my eyes.
Wow.
It was scary. And we survived that. And then later on, what happened? The businesses never reopened. Middle class moved away because we integrated now. And heroin moved in and crack cocaine, and that's another whole story.
Yes. But, talk about the spirit of Ben's Chili Bowl, because, with all of those things happening, there was a rebuilding process. There was a resilience that came out of that. What gave you all the strength to not just pack up and leave and hit the road and go somewhere else,
I always felt like this is Washington, D.C. This is the capital of the world. This is what runs the world at that time. And I felt like it's going to come back. Change is going to come, and we're going to have our cities going to come back and all that. I had no idea that it would take 20 years. Because in 1968 that happened. And finally, the city decided to give us this subway system right across the street, the Green Line.
Right.
That was promised years earlier, but it didn't even start to operate or to get their start until 1988. And when they did the survey, they found only 3 businesses in the immediate vicinity had survived. Industrial Bank, Lee's Flower Shop, and Ben's Chili Bowl. Those 3 businesses are still here.
Operating
Still
today.
there.
Exactly.
The big 3.
But it was
Very good.
not enough to support them maintaining 1 lane of traffic out there.
Yeah.
They dug up the entire street. I had 1 employee during that time, just 1, and me. Ben found something else to do. A very difficult time.
Yes.
There was not 1 car out there, not 1,
Wow.
for a long time.
But the roots were deep and planted. And, with everything that happened, there was one person who was watching and documenting. And now today, we have Breaking Barriers with Chili. And that person was Bernard Demczuk, who I found out was sitting in a booth at the table and just writing about the things that you've seen, the experiences that you had here. Did you know at what point did you know that, okay, this is enough for me to tell my story and to tell the story of Ben's?
Thank you, Vic, and great to see you. Great
You
to
as
see you,
well.
Huggy, and the real sound of the DMV. I just love being here this morning. Thank you so much for this.
You're welcome.
Vic, you started with a safe place.
Yes.
You started there. That was your first question to Mom, Mrs. Ellie. And you really got to the essence of why Ben's is so world-renowned and why so many people come here for the last 65 years. It's a safe space, a safe place. Across the street, literally, was the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Stokely Carmichael was there, Marion Barry, Eleanor Holmes Norton, Frank Smith. You've heard those names.
Yes.
They're the greats.
Yes.
I was 17 years old when I joined. So I would come down here, and I go to the Howard Theater from University of Maryland, and I go to the doo-wop shows and the soul reviews. And then, of course, at 11 o'clock at night, Hug, after the show, we'd walk U Street. And guess where we'd end up? Right here. And when I mean safe place, what you mean safe place is that the police and the authorities and others realized that Mom had it under control, that Mrs. Ali had this big heart that created a safe space. And as a result, people would come here. We've never had an issue, never had a problem here. And it's the way she carries herself. And to your question, this section right here, I was very, very close to Marion Barry. I was one of his deputy campaign managers. This is the spot that we would have our senior staff meetings starting in '81 for our re-election campaign. This spot right here.
Yeah.
And the brilliance of Marion Barry, what he understood is the opposition was having their meetings up in the suites downtown, up, 10 floors up. He's going to have his meetings where the people are.
The people.
And he had them here, the Harambe House, Murphy Supper Club, Shiloh Baptist Church, Tune In. He wanted to be where the people were because it's a safe place.
Yeah.
And so I would be sitting here during this period of time, and I realized the brilliance of Marion. You see everybody coming through the front door, and when they came in, they saw him. And this became my spot. And since 1981, actually I've been coming here since '67, but since 1981, I've been sitting in this spot watching Mrs. Ali. And when I mean watching her, I mean her grace, the way she moves through the restaurant, how she says hello to everybody. Where are you from? And they say Korea or California or North Carolina, and then she starts a conversation, and they feel like they're home.
Yeah.
And so this little area here where you're sitting, you're in a magic spot right here. Magic.
Yeah. Magic.
Yeah. I figured that out after I said it.
Double entendre right there.
Yeah.
You're in the spot of the real sound of the DMV, right here in this corner. And as I sat here for 40 years, I watched her. Now it took me 2 years on the keyboard, Huggy, but it took me 43 years observing her, and I just observed the beauty and the kindness, and that's why I wrote the book.
So what is the message that you want to give everyone who reads this book? What is that definitive message, that you want to convey from this book? When we talk about, strength, we talk about resilience, we talk about the icons that have come through here. Mrs. Ali, you are an icon, a historic figure, for all of us. Is that the message that you're sending, that, no matter what you're going through, it's all about community. It's all about having grace through tough times,
See now, once again, you've gotten to the heart of the matter. Please ask Mrs. Ali about her roots. You used that word earlier.
Yes.
Her roots are in the farm. Her roots are in the country. And you got to be resilient. You got to be strong.
Different strength.
You got to build family and community if you're going to live out in rural America. And Mrs. Ali and her family, they had their church, they had their farm, they had their family and their community. That was the essence of who Mrs. Ali is. And that's what she brought here. So this 65-year-old space has its real roots in the resilience and the people and the family in the countryside.
Wow.
Yes. All right, so let everyone know where they can pick up Breaking Barriers with Chili. And when is the book available? Where can we pick it up?
It's available right now.
Okay.
It was released in December last year, and you can buy it here at Ben's Chili Bowl, or you can go to halfsmokes.com. That's with a plural, halfsmokes.com, and you can order it there. Oh, by the way, Huggy and Vic and your listeners, please, all proceeds go to the Ben's Chili Bowl Foundation. They don't go to me as the author. I used to be the chairman of the foundation, and we give away about $50,000 a year to local community groups in this area, particularly youth groups. So all proceeds go to our foundation, which goes back out into the community.
Still
Yes.
pouring into the people.
Always, always. Yes, Mrs. Virginia Ali and Bernard Demczuk, thank you so much. We are honored to be in your presence. You know, there is so much history. I have a million questions, but of course we know we're limited on time, but thank you so much.
And Vic, may I just say, you can
Yes.
maybe easier for people. You can get it on Amazon.com also. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Go to Amazon.com. Breaking Barriers with Chili. Virginia Ali, the matriarch of DC, authored by Bernard Demczuk. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Masterclass.
We are so honored to be here, and we appreciate you. Love always.
Thank you. We're honored
Thank
to
you.
have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vic Jagger in the morning with Huggy Lowdown right here on Magic 102.3 and 92.7.